Afternoon or evening, and let's first start by apologizing. We were meant to start at 5:30. You will also know that today we are also having our National Working Committee meeting, so that delayed us a bit. So I hope that members of the media do accept our apology in keeping with the kind of cooperation that we have already established. With me here, with Comrade Fikile Mbalula, the head of our elections, and the Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Comrade Jesse Duarte, and the Secretary General of the ANC Women's League, Comrade Yoko. I'm going to hand over to the Deputy Secretary General to read over the statement on why we had invited you here today. Over to you, DSG.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is an ANC statement to address allegations against members of the ANC Women's League who resigned from ANC Women's League leadership during the late Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela's tenure as president of the ANC Women's League. Since her passing on, there has been an avalanche of tributes on the extraordinary and phenomenal life of struggle heroine Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. Some of the tributes were oral, while others were written. The tributes were in poetry, song, and dance. The intention was never to detract from her enormous contribution, but to celebrate her life. The ANC notes with sadness the flurry of mass media platforms relating to controversies around the legacy of Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. At this point, we wish to emphasize that the Madikizela-Mandela family, our organization, and our people as a whole are still in mourning for the mother of our nation. Since the passing of Comrade Winnie, there's been an outpouring of sadness and love for this remarkable woman who carried the flag of resistance and defiance of the apartheid regime in our darkest hours. The final farewell which she received from thousands upon thousands of people who witnessed her funeral at Orlando Stadium and on live broadcasts throughout the country and the world was filled with dignity and love. It is not appropriate, only 48 hours after she was laid to rest, that our organization participates in controversial debates regarding her life and her legacy. We know that in some instances, this debate is intended to detract from the significant role she played in the liberation struggle and in the ANC. Accordingly, the ANC officials and the National Working Committee are discussing ways in which we will further honor her contribution and her life. We will also, at the right time, address allegations that seek to cast aspersions on individual members of our movement and the role they played, and the role played by the apartheid security agents in fostering divisions within the ANC, but we say that this is not the time. We appeal to all our members and our people not to be provoked at this sad time. Let us unite in mourning our mother. Let us continue to support the Madikizela-Mandela family with the same spirit, love, and dignity displayed during Mama's funeral and during this entire mourning period, which is not over as yet. The ANC commends South Africans for individually and collectively sharing the burden of pain and loss with the family and the organization. As the ANC, we know, based on our own history, that when shared, the burden becomes lighter. The nation and the world's solidarity with the family and their moment of loss made it easier for us and the family to contend with this monumental loss. South Africans, through their support during her last miles into immortality, made resounding statements of embracing Mama Winnie as their leader and the embodiment of their aspirations. We'd like to thank our government, the army, the police, emergency services, the media, and all political parties, and most importantly, South Africans and the international community and leaders for their support, and solidarity during our moment of collective grief. To the family, we want to say, they remain an important part of our nation. We will continue to work with them to preserve and advance the proud and revolutionary legacy of Mama Mandela. As the ANC and the country, we owe our mother and the nation and the family a debt of gratitude that we will never be able to repay in our lifetime. May her revolutionary spirit and legacy continue to live amongst us. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary General. We are now going to open the floor for questions, clarity from members of the media. Do we have the roving mic so we can assist? Samkelo, ENCA, Matlatsi, News 24. I'm sure others will be provoked as you ask. They might also find reason to raise their hands as well.
That focus is seemingly very divided because the likes of the SACP's Madam Samba, who do want Supra out of office as premium. How are you handling that issue? Some have said it did come up in this interview that you've been having today.
Good evening, Mashatsi from News 24. Yes, due all due respect, why I'm here. The press release said that the ANC Women's League leadership then will be responding to so-called aspersion cast against them. And now you have stood on the podium to say now is not the time to actually discuss this. Was it because the ANC differed with the women that wanted to come here and explain themselves? And number two, I'm not sure, I just need clarity on what the aspersion is, because as far as we know, there were members who resigned because the late struggle icon was convicted of fraud. Was that not what happened? I think we just need clarity on what exactly is the issue here.
Okay, we can take those two. If there are those who still want to come in, we'll have a last round of questions. DSG?
Do I have to stand at this high podium?
Yes.
All right. Firstly, let me say categorically, the ANC does not believe that those allegations are true because the historical time factor is what was wrong in the first place. Number one, at the time that the NEC members resigned from the NEC of the ANC Women's League, there was no judgment against Comrade Winnie Mandela, number one. So none of them would have been able to say we are leaving because of the words that were used by a particular person on a platform. Rather, we will come back and discuss more the historical context of the time. But in brief, at the time, there was acrimony within the ANC Women's League. And it was felt by these women that it was best for them to resign at that moment to allow the ANC Women's League to continue with their work. In fact, when the NEC of the ANC wanted to disband the ANC, it is these very same women who had resigned who argued against that and argued for an ANC Women's League to exist and be in place under the leadership of Comrade Winnie Mandela. We don't believe that we should go into the detail right now. We think that that detracts from what we now know of a woman who unified all of us in a stadium yesterday, continues to unify us now, and whose legacy we want to protect and defend, as we need to protect and defend the leaders of the ANC against whom allegations were made, and we need to do those with concrete facts. The other issue here is we decided that it is the responsibility of the leadership of the ANC to defend its members. not for them to stand up each time there's an allegation and they need to come and defend themselves against spurious allegations that are not really tested in history or in fact. On the issue of the vote of no confidence on the Premier of the Northwest Province, the ANC is sending a delegation to meet with the caucus on Wednesday. Whatever happens tomorrow, we will see the outcome, but we are moving towards Northwest on Wednesday, and I would request that we allow that process to continue as it should.
Thank you. With the permission of the DSG, you asked an important question about why are we here. Yes, indeed, members of the ANC, who their names have been posted in social media, who have been spoken about in relation to what happened in the past, approached the organization, and the organization so advised that it is not advisable at this period, whilst we're still mourning, to be speaking individually about all sorts of accusations that will be made and aspersions on individuals. But it does not mean that the ANC will not respond on those issues. At an appropriate moment and time that allows, the ANC will speak on those particular issues, but the ANC will work very hard to preserve the legacy of Umama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. That's what is important at the present moment. So you would have had everybody here speaking individually about and trying to account about what happened. That moment will come, and the African National Congress will speak in relation to those issues on behalf of individual members and members of the ANC to put the record straight on those particular issues.
Thank you very much, Mahlatse, just to also assist. That's why we've got the Secretary General of the ANC Women's League, who's here with us, just to show that the organization is taking a firm stand on these issues, and the SGO of the ANC, as you see the DSG is here, will be addressing these issues. That should at least give some comfort that the ANC is taking these issues seriously and working towards making sure that they are addressed and a correct perspective is placed out in the public. Are there any other questions? Yes, Mahlatse, Samkelo. We don't have any other one, Josie FM, so that even our community media can take a bite. CNBC. Okay, CNBC. Thanks.
Just clarity. What is the ANC's view on the allegations against Sisulu, in that we did not hear the press conference he held this morning, distancing himself from the allegations that he ordered for the investigation of the SABC case. And then just clarity on the follow-up to what Samkelo asked earlier. Is the ANC saying that the members of the caucus of the Northwest are allowed to vote with their conscience, and that's why we're only going on Wednesday?
My question is in line with my colleague Mahlatse. If you are saying that you're only going there on Wednesday, then what have you recommended as the AWC to your MPLs within that particular provincial legislature? And then are you not worried of all these allegations of corruption and wrongdoing against your own president, the Northwest Supra Muhammad Bulu, whose own son, who actually has a 1 million rands bursary from the now? And then the last question would be to Figilemba. Are you not least worried that you were speaking on behalf of the ANC Youth League over the weekend, looking at your age? Is this a basic vote of no confidence against your own somewhat youth league does not the Indian society? Thank you.
No, this is just CNBC. You can see the DSG is already ready to provide that clarity. CNBC.
CNBC Africa. Actually, I piggyback from Samkelo's question with regards to the youth league representation at Mama Winnie's funeral, which was something of an omission, considering the generation of youth that we consider that has not been achieved by this press conference. This press conference has not addressed that at all. In fact, my question still remains. Would we be here had the opposition not put the debate into the public sphere? And simply said, would we be here if Julius Malema had not said what he had said on Saturday? Thank you.
Well, DSG?
Well, let me start with CNBC-A. CNBC-A?
CNBC.
Yes, okay. Firstly, let me say that we intervened with the women who wanted to be here today. In fact, they're in the building, and we have advised them, as the NWC and the officials, that we didn't think it was appropriate for them, as senior cadres of this movement, to defend themselves against an accusation that wasn't even factually correct. And I want to state that again, so that you hear me very well. At the time that the Women's League NEC members resigned, Comrade Winnie Mandela had not yet received any judgment. There were other matters, serious matters, in the Women's League that occasioned a rift between very senior people and herself. Now, we are saying now is not the time for us, during a period of mourning, to explain all of that. We would like to be given the opportunity to do so, but not right now. Nor do we think it is appropriate that every time somebody accuses an individual, that person must come and stand in front of the media and explain themselves and say, it's not me, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And the organization must defend the people in the organization, and that's what we are doing here today. That's why you are here, to hear that explanation. Secondly, let me just go back to the question of the Youth League or Youth League spokesperson. There was no request from the family for a person from the Youth League to speak at the funeral. Instead, there was a request from the family for somebody from that period, and they were then called the Young Lions, to speak at the funeral of Comrade Winnie during a period when they had worked very intensely with her. And that is Comrade Fikile Mbalula. It is correct that he should have spoken there. And the officials agreed with the family when they made that request. You must remember that funerals are not party political platforms only. The only person that we could suggest should speak there is the national chairperson of the ANC himself, or the Secretary General, or any other official. So that's that explanation. I hope we can accept and understand that. Again, sorry, I forgot the other. That was the questions. Am I right?
No.
Matlatsi, just say.
Mine was around if you're saying that the caucus of Northwest should vote.
Okay. Yes. We understand that the caucus met today with the deployees, National Executive Committee deployees of the ANC. A discussion was held on how to manage this vote of no confidence that will be put in front of the legislature tomorrow. It is not ideal for ANC members to vote against a leader of the ANC based on a wish or the wishes of the opposition. We don't do that in the ANC. However, we are willing to go to the Northwest on Wednesday to hear the arguments of that caucus and their reasons why they may have felt that they have grievances that need to be tabled. They need to table those grievances to their organization, the ANC. After that, we will move forward together with them and the regional leaders and the provincial leadership of the ANC to find a solution to the problems and the issues that they are raising. On allegations, it's very difficult to turn an allegation into a fact unless that allegation is tested and people are subjected to a court of law where they can be questioned and where allegations can be tested. And once an allegation becomes a fact, it is only becomes a fact when you can actually very normally, in the normal course of jurisprudence, prove that somebody is in fact guilty. We do believe that we are in a situation where we are ably looking at corruption in this country. We must look at it without fear, without favor. We must look at it and ask the right questions, and we are doing so. And no one will escape, I can assure you. And if there is wrongdoing, people will be dealt with in terms of the ANC itself, and above that, in terms of the law. Really, that's where we are at the moment. Thank you very much. Do you want to add?
No, thanks. I'm sure this provides all the clarities you needed. The only reason they are not here is because there was an intervention. But you were called for what was written there on the statement, and the ANC is saying this is not the right time. At the right time, you'll be informed. We have developed that rapport. We do make sure that you are briefed from time to time. I'm going to officially close this briefing so that we can go back to the meeting, DSG. No. Thank you very much for coming and with such speed. See, DSG, it took them only an hour for all of them to be here.
I note that. They're very subdued.
Yes. No.